Greetings, namaste. Welcome to our webinar on Affirmations for Self-Healing by Swami Kriyananda ji. We're doing these webinars now from our rooms at our Ananda Monastery because of lockdown and social distancing, which explains the two screens and the different types of backgrounds. And those of you who have been attending these for many weeks might be used to. My name is Nayaswami Devarshi, and I'm here with Brahmachari Vineet, and we'll begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda ji, saints of all religions, we humbly bow at thy feet. O great masters of Kriya Yoga, Divine Mother, we are your children. Inspire and awaken within us the strong desire to know thee, to love thee, to offer ourselves with complete willingness, holding nothing back as we give ourselves to thee in service, in meditation, and in devotion. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Well, again, welcome. This week, our reading and the quality that we're working on is on willingness. And this passage by Swami Kriyananda ji, he described willingness. Willingness, he says, must be cultivated deliberately. It is an attitude of mind and depends not on outward conditions. Most people are willing or unwilling, depending on their likes and dislikes. This habit tends to develop a bias towards unwillingness, which gradually becomes chronic and attracts to itself chronic failure. Don't wait for favorable circumstances to awaken willingness in you. Train yourself in the attitude of saying yes to life. Often by this simple attitude, you will find success arriving unexpected at your door. So now we will affirm together, first very loudly and then more and more quietly and inwardly. Repeat after me. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. Or quietly and inwardly, I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. Whispering now, I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. And now mentally only, I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. And let's mentally listen to this prayer. Lord, help me to overcome the satanic pull of unwillingness. The more I embrace life in your name, the more I feel your joy. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Devarshi ji. That was a beautiful reading. Uh, the most enjoyable part for me right now, as Devarshi ji was reading, was to listen to the prayer where Swamiji writes to unwillingness as the satanic pull of unwillingness. And Yogananda ji referred to unwillingness sometimes as the unwillingness monster. And we just during this is an excellent opportunity actually in these days to test our willingness or even to apply the concept of willingness in our lives, because we are here forced in a situation where we just can't help ourselves in outward circumstances. We are just forced to be and accepting of what the real life situation is. And as Swamiji again writes in this very beautifully, most people are willing or unwilling depending on their likes and dislikes. Well, we don't want to be willing or unwilling depending on our likes and dislikes. And in the next paragraph, he says, don't wait for favorable circumstances to awaken willingness in you. And this has caught my attention really over the last few days, ever since the situation with COVID-19 has been happening. And for a period of time, I actually even started doing the energization exercises more than I used to do. And some of you may be aware, if you have any background on Paramahansa Yoganandaji's teachings, the energization exercises are an excellent tool for us to have more energy and also more willingness. In this context, Yogananda ji gave us the axiom, the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. And if we think of willpower, willingness in terms of that word, flow of energy, it makes complete sense. At least to me, it does. It doesn't mean grim determination that, yes, I'm going to survive these through these 20 days, 21 days, or the extended lockdown now, but rather a complete acceptance of what the situation is. In other words, there is no resistance. We are just absolutely open to what life throws onto us or gives us. And also, this image came to my mind that for anything, any machinery to be functioning smoothly, let's say a motor or a fan which has its blades running, there are bearings, there are lubricants, and it just keeps everything free flowing, these bearings in the machine, or oil in some cases. But what happens if there is no oil or no bearings in the functioning of these machines? Well, there is friction, and what happens when there is friction? Well, I'm not much of a scientist or a physics person, but if there is too much friction, two things happen. The machine doesn't function properly, and the second thing is that it wears out very quickly. And so, similarly, if in this situation which we have in our day to day life, if there is too much resistance and if there is less openness, there are going to be two things. One, we'll exhaust ourselves too quickly, which is because of the wear and tear. And the second is we won't be able to appreciate life as well as we can actually. And Nayaswami Jyotishi, who's the Dharmacharya of Ananda Sangha worldwide, he said this could be the best and the greatest spiritual opportunity we will ever have in our lives. So why not be more willing and use it in to our advantage? And as Paramahansa Yogananda ji said, that circumstances are essentially neutral and our reactions to them make it either positive or negative. Well, I'm paraphrasing him, but you get the essence of it. So how about turning this situation into the most positive situation we have ever been into? In other words, maybe there is time for more meditation, or in case of many of our lives, there is more household chores to do and more things to take care of because there is no domestic help, and even the normal day-to-day functioning has become very difficult. Then we find ourselves doing a lot of physical work. Well, why not use that as an opportunity to practice mental japa or practice the presence of God? And just if you're washing dishes, or I've been using this thing very often that whenever I go to the sink, it's just like it's not another dish which I want to wash it and throw it off, but rather an opportunity to practice the presence of God and to practice even gratitude for all the help we have had so far in our lives from all the housemates, the caretakers, the servants, how grateful we should be for all the help we have had from them, and also absolutely willing what life throws onto us. Just an interesting story. This story is usually shared more in the context of humility than in the context of willingness. Well, humility is the topic for next week, but the story can also be applied in the context of willingness. And the story is it is in the context of I don't think it's an Indian context, but I'll improvise on it. So basically, there was a priest in a temple, and he was there sitting in front of the, or standing in front of the deity of the temple, and with him was a very generous donor who had helped the priest in many ways in maintaining the temple and in the upkeep of everything. And the priest looked at the deity, looked at the murti, the statue, and said, "I am nothing, Lord. Oh, I am nothing." And then the this wealthy donor, looking at the priest, he also repeats after him, "I am nothing, Lord. Oh, I am nothing." And while this was happening, there was a person who was sweeping and cleaning the temple premises, and he happened to see these two devotees say, "I am nothing," and he was so inspired inwardly to look at this and to be nothing. He just dropped everything and he looked at the murti and he said, "Oh, I am nothing, Lord. I am nothing." And the priest and the donor looked towards him, and the priest kind of elbowed the donor, and he said, "Look who thinks he can be nothing." And well, yes, it is a good story to learn humility, but it is also important, I thought, to see the willingness of this person, of the caretaker of the temple premises. He didn't think that, "Oh no, I'm just a sweeper, and how can I think the same way as the priest thinks or the donor thinks?" He was just absolutely willing to be nothing. It didn't matter to him if that was the right thing to do, and if that was a situation, it was fine by him to be nothing. And he just left everything. "I am nothing, Lord. I am nothing." And you will find this often in Ananda Sangha, at least I have found ever since I have been serving full time here. And it's just amazing that the people who do what they do are not essentially qualified to do what they are supposed to be doing. And just recently, one of my brother monks shared with Devarshi ji that if we were to go find a job, exact same job what we are doing now outside in the world, we would never be selected for it. You will find an accountant who doesn't have an accounting degree doing accounting work. You'll find an online person who's managing the online courses, has no background about online courses, or at least is trying to learn. But then how is it working? How does it function? How is everything flowing smoothly? There's just one word I can think of: willingness. As long as we are willing, everything is on track. And if we are unwilling, then you might be the best engineer in the world, but you may not be able to do something who might be able to do, who's willing to do that project. Or you might be the best accountant with the best accounting degree, but if you're willing, you might be able to do better accounting than even an accountant who's unwilling and being negative to the situation. So what is essential in life is really willingness more than anything else. And also, just in the context of willingness, we don't have to think that, "Oh, this situation is above me," or "it is too hard for me." Like Sister Gyanamata, who was Paramhans Yogananda ji's most advanced woman disciple, she used to say yes and make it snappy. In other words, just don't waste a beat. If life throws an opportunity, just say yes to it and then make it snappy. And then later on, you can figure out how to work the mechanics of it and how to do this and how to do that. Or let's face it, none of us have the perfect idea of how to cure COVID-19, but we have to jump into it. The doctors have to jump into it, and they have to be absolutely willing. And none of us know the best way to deal with this situation, because let's face it, this is a very unique situation to the world. None of us can say we are professionals in knowing what to do with the given situation. So then what can we do? Well, we can be willing, and if we are willing, then no matter what the situation is, like Paramahansa Yogananda ji would say, the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. And if the flow of energy is high, then automatically there's success at just very close by, and it's there at our doorstep. Like Swamiji closes the reading saying, "Often by the simple attitude, you will find success arriving unexpected at your doorstep." So let's be willing and with this simple attitude wait for success arriving unexpected at our doorstep. With that, I will pass it on to Devarshi ji.
Thank you, Vineet. This topic of willingness is central to pretty much everything we do. Like Vineet was saying, what we do here with our monastery, we're all doing things that we were not trained to do, but we are willing to do. And when you are willing, there's a flow of energy that just divine energy, even if it's just saying yes to whatever is being asked and whatever your role is, your duty, whatever God asks you to do. And I'm going to touch upon this topic in the context of discipleship. I think many, perhaps most of the people watching are disciples of this path or another path. Even those who aren't, I think you'll be helped by what I say about this topic in the context of discipleship. Discipleship to a great master means saying yes to what he asks us to do. It means being willing to practice his teachings, to follow his teachings, in our case, to do the energization exercises, to do the practices, but also to renounce the ego in a positive sense, because true ego renunciation, the way that our masters taught it, is really ego transcendence of giving ourselves with complete willingness in service to others, in service to God, in willingness to the Guru. And most people are ruled by their likes and dislikes. And this is what Swamiji makes his very key point here in this reading, that willingness or unwillingness for most people depends on whether they want to do something, whether they don't want to. You see children doing this. You ask a child to do a chore or something, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't like doing that. And the energy gets pulled down and they get tired and it just pulls the whole consciousness down. And yet we're like that sometimes, aren't we? Oh, I don't like wearing a mask. I don't like doing this. I like this food. I don't like that food. I don't like staying at home and being locked down. And so we need to transcend all of this and to accept what comes when it's out of our control. And not just to accept it begrudgingly, but really to run forward with it and just to put out the energy. And this is the essence of discipleship. When the Guru asks the disciple to do something, to serve others, to give to others, the real disciple doesn't drag their feet and just resist the Guru and resent and say, well, I don't like doing this, because likes and dislikes are pretty much the opposite of renunciation and discipleship, because discipleship is saying yes to what's asked by God of us, by what's asked by the Guru of us. So much of the spiritual path that bogs people down is these likes and dislikes. And there's a good example that relates even to what we're doing today, because we're being asked to do things like wear a mask, social distancing, stay at home. You will see that those who drag their feet and say, finally, will the government passed a law to wear masks when you're out in public? Okay, finally, okay, I'll do it because it's a law. And it's just, you see the energy going down. And yet I've seen people who were starting to wear masks way before the government was asked, because it was the right thing to do, to help others, to prevent others from getting sick just in case we might have it. And just this willingness, this attitude of energy and joy increases our own energy as we go forward. And I'll tell a couple of stories in this context. One, Yogananda ji had a disciple, and it was a woman who was a great Kriya yogi. She initiated, I think, a couple of thousand people into Kriya Yoga, according to Yogananda in his life. And she would go barefoot everywhere. And the Guru understood that she had a particular karma to have a problem from walking barefoot. And he kept telling her, don't walk barefoot. Start wearing shoes. Start wearing chappals. And she, even though she was a disciple, she still had likes and dislikes. And in this case, she didn't like wearing shoes. And she said, no, Guruji, I don't like wearing shoes. I just will go barefoot. And he kept very strongly advising her. And finally, one day, she caught a disease through the bottom of her feet and died from that, because of her likes and dislikes, prevented her from listening to the Guru and doing as he was asking her to do. This is a hard lesson, isn't it? She was a great disciple in many other ways, but she had these likes and dislikes that caused the unwillingness to follow what the Guru was asking her to do. And she died because of it. And she could have had a much longer life and been a disciple and served if she had just gotten over that. And this is people don't realize what the stakes are with likes and dislikes and this unwillingness. So as Vineet was saying, quoting a disciple of Yogananda, say yes and make it snappy. Now, I'll share two more stories in this context. One was Swami Kriyananda ji. Well, I'll tell another story first, which is Vineet reminded me of a story that I've told many times, but this is a very good time to tell it. I was married for 25 years to a great Kriya Yogi disciple, and she had a lot of willingness and joy and energy. And in America, the couples do the cleaning in the house. We don't have servants and maids and such. So we do the cleaning. And I wasn't a very willing cleaner. I just would always drag my feet. And once a week we had chores that we did. And my job was the kitchen, the bathroom, cleaning everything really well. And she knew that I was unwilling. It affected my energy and affected her energy. And so she tried different ways to break me out of it. But the way that succeeded finally and got me through it, one morning we were getting ready to go to work, and it was our cleaning night that night. And she just was so excited. She was like a breathless child. Do you know what we get to do tonight? And I thought maybe she had some special surprise planned for us, that some party or a special dinner, or we were going out. You know what we get to do tonight? And I was like, what do we do? What are we doing tonight? What's this great surprise that you're so enthusiastic about and so excited? And she said with just real excitement, it was very sincere. She said, we get to clean the Guru's ashram. And she was talking about her home, which was the Guru's ashram. And I understood that, yes, I shouldn't be dragging my feet. I should be joyful, willing, and positive to clean the toilet, clean the bathroom, because I'm cleaning the Guru's ashram, where together we would practice sadhana and Guru Seva. And so it taught me that when you have that kind of willingness, of a strong, extreme willingness even, it changes your whole level of energy. So I tell this story to all of you husbands who are locked down with your wives. Be more than willing to clean, to cook, to help. Don't wait to be asked. Because if you just only do things when you're asked, well, it's like a kid who just finally says, oh, okay, I'll do it. If you ask me enough or if you scold me enough, then that's unwillingness. When it's that type of saying yes, but dragging the feet every step of the way. So try to find a way to turn it completely around with enthusiasm, with energy, because when we start being ruled by likes and dislikes, the energy starts to get pulled down. I like this, I don't like that. I like this food, so I have to have this food all the time. I don't like that food. And it starts to become very contractive. It starts to be reinforcing of the ego. But it also tends, as Swamiji writes, to develop a bias towards unwillingness, which becomes chronic and attracts not just chronic failure, but in the context of discipleship, it actually takes people away from the Guru and off the spiritual path. There's a story that is just very interesting. It's in Swami Kriyanandaji's autobiography, The New Path. And in this story, Swamiji was with a brother disciple. They were serving the Guru. They were out in the desert. And Yoganandaji asked them to dig a big hole in this very sandy ground. It was sand, it was desert, because he wanted a swimming pool. He never used the swimming pool. He was just using this as an excuse to train them and give them some lessons. And so they dug a big pile of sand. And there was a big pile of sand there, and they had been working hard all morning long, and they were sweating. It was very hot. It was the desert. The sun was beating on them. They were really hungry, ready for lunch. And the Guru came out and said, okay, that big pile of sand is unsightly. Let's see if we can make it level. And so he said, why don't the two of you grab that long board there? So it was a 2x4, it's a long, skinny board. Each of you get on one end and get to the side of the big pile of sand and move the board back and forth like this and push the sand so that you start leveling the top of the pile, and just over time move the pile. And so they tried doing it, and it didn't work well at all. In fact, it actually wasn't a great idea. And they kept trying, and Yogananda would say, no, do it like this, try it like this. And they kept trying and trying, and they both could see that this really wasn't going to work. And this is how the guru worked with people sometimes. He wouldn't give them a good reason to do something. He would ask them to do something that sometimes didn't make sense. And in this case, it was to see which way they would break, is the way Swamiji put it. And this other guy was this big, strong guy. So he should have been the healthier, stronger, more able one to do this. And so they kept trying and trying, and they were getting hotter and hotter, and they were getting really hungry. And Yoganandaji kept saying, no, let's try it like this. And it was not working at all. And the brother disciple of Swami Kriyanandaji, he was starting to mutter and grumble under his breath and get kind of upset because he thought it was so stupid what he was being asked. And in one sense it was, but the guru was asking him. So that willingness should have been there rather than, I don't like doing this. I don't want to do this. This is a dumb idea. But Swamiji at a certain point finally just saw the certain absurdity in all of it. And he just stood up and just started laughing and laughing at just the joy of the situation. It wasn't working very well, but they were trying and he was doing his best. But somehow he just saw the joy in it. And Yoganandaji just nodded quietly and said, okay, very good, time for lunch. And Swamiji understood that Yoganandaji was seeing which way they would break, towards negativity, unwillingness to do what the guru wanted, or towards this joyful, positive attitude. It sounds like a simple lesson, but people don't realize how high the stakes are with likes and dislikes and following or not following the guru. Because Swami Kriyanandaji, the one who was willing to listen and follow the guru's advice, even when it didn't seem to make sense, he stayed on the spiritual path, served his guru for the next 60 or 70 years, and found God. The other disciple, he left the guru soon after, and he fell into some really deep delusions in his life. This is how high the stakes are of this willingness and unwillingness, of following our own likes and dislikes, our own whims and fancies. So practice willingness, because in order to find God, we must have that extreme high degree of willingness to follow the guru, but especially to give ourselves completely and willingly in Guru Seva and meditation and devotional offering. So Vineet will now finish with the reading and the affirmation again.
Thank you, Devarshi. So let's listen to the reading once again, taking it deeply. Willingness must be cultivated deliberately. It is an attitude of mind and depends not on outward conditions. Most people are willing or unwilling depending on their likes and dislikes. This habit tends to develop a bias toward unwillingness, which gradually becomes chronic and attracts to itself chronic failure. Don't wait for favorable circumstances to awaken willingness in you. Train yourself in the attitude of saying yes to life. Often, by this simple attitude, you will find success arriving unexpected at your doorstep. Let's affirm together, first out loud. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. Now, in a normal voice, I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. Now, in a whisper, I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. Now, mentally taking it to the subconscious mind deeply, I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. Now, taking this affirmation to the superconscious mind, focusing at the point between the eyebrows, staying completely focused, mentally affirming, I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. I welcome everything that comes to me as an opportunity for further growth. Now, inwardly praying, Lord, help me to overcome the satanic pull of unwillingness. The more I embrace life in your name, the more I feel your joy. Thank you, friends, for joining us today, and have a willing week next week, and practice this affirmation and the attitude. We look forward to connecting with you the same time next week at 8 p.m. But do practice the affirmations and try your best to see how you can catch yourself being more willing in your day to day life. Thank you again, and see you next week.
Thank
Joy.
you. Joy and blessings to all of you.